Next, from Springfield, we talk to State Representative Jeanne Ives as she gives us an update on the fallout from the College of Dupage financial scandal, in which the college president and other school officials wasted tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer money. This runs about 10 minutes.
Representative Jeanne Ives, thanks for joining us again on the Illinois Channel. It's been a little bit of time since we had a chance to visit with you. When last we spoke, we were talking about the College of Dupage and a controversy that had erupted about the president there. I think that has since been resolved. Can you update us on what's happened?
It's been resolved to some degree. So he has been officially fired from his position as College of Dupage. That was a two-step process. First, they had to nullify the contract, which made him an at-will employee. And then once he was an at-will employee, they were able to fire him for cause. And they laid out in a resolution at least 7 or 8 specific reasons why he's being fired for cause. Everything from essentially using taxpayer dollars illegally to also just a lack of oversight. Remember, it was College of Dupage who lost $2 million in the scandal investment with a suburban investment company. I forgot, it's a municipal investment firm. But we were the biggest losers when that fund went belly up. So, and they violated all sorts of policies when they were investing that money. He knew about it. He should have done something about it. He didn't. So there were a number of causes. So he's fired now. Immediately following that firing, however, he sued both the College of DuPage and the 4 trustees who voted to fire him. And so now we've got a lawsuit pending on that. Now, this is eating up some dollars in terms of cost for the taxpayers of DuPage County. I understand that. It is my firm belief, however, that I don't care if we spend $5 million on this. And oh, by the way, a lot of this is going to be covered through insurance policies, so the taxpayers won't truly be out that amount of money. But it's imperative that we get to the bottom line, that we use the Dr. Bruder situation as a case analysis for how a board should operate, how trustees should provide oversight, how contracts should be written, and how malfeasance should be uncovered.
And again, just to bring the people up, there were things, there's any number of examples, but one was that they started a restaurant. I mean, it's not unusual to have a cafe for people to eat at a community college, but this was like a French restaurant where they were spending, I think, hundreds of thousands of dollars on wine, if I remember the figure right.
Yes, that's correct. Not only did they have a restaurant, but it's also been revealed now that their hotel, which they use for hospitality training, has been used by trustees at taxpayer expense. So we're not finished still uncovering some of the malfeasance that happened at College of DuPage. We do know that there are still pending state investigations and federal investigations. There's now obviously lawsuits on his behalf as well. So this is going to take a long while sorting its way out, and I beg the public to stay with us on this because everybody needs to understand what went down there. We need to write it up in a case study for ethics training and everything else used around the state.
And that's really one of the reasons why I want to follow up with you, because we don't, as the Illinois Channel, as a statewide entity, we don't want to focus on something that's just impacting one community and nowhere else. But as an example, and here at the College of DuPage, which I think is one of the biggest community colleges in the nation, what, 30,000?
That's correct, it is. It's one of the largest in the nation. But unfortunately, where Dr. Bruder came from was Harper College, which was another college for which he was let go under a severance agreement because of things that he had been doing up there. Since then, we have just discovered that that group of trustees had written into the contract that his wife receives a $2,500 stipend in order to cover expenses when she travels with him, if he's on college business. Well, she's not an employee of the college. She shouldn't have received this money. And so I'm wondering, to me, what kind of oversight has the ICCB had, has the ICCTA had in terms of statewide agencies that are supposed to drill down and do things and understand what's proper at these community colleges? So the Illinois Community College Board has also come back into COD and said, look, we understand that you've been padding your credits as it relates to the training of police officers. Well, now we're asking for our money back. So College of DuPage is having to pay back to the state of Illinois some money that they received for credits that were improperly given. So, I mean, they've got a number of messes that they're cleaning up, but we've got also board failure at the state level from the Illinois Community College Trustees Association, which failed to really alert trustees as to what was going on with Bruder at Harper and maybe forewarn them before even signing him up. I just think that it's been a failure of governance all over.
Have you had, or have you asked to have committee hearings on this, and to what extent have any of your House colleagues said, you know, this has opened my eyes to check into what's going on with local schools?
Well, I think actually we're so bogged down in determining what to do with the budget, and I did ask for House hearings back in the spring. That got completely shut down. The Senate Democrats have been doing a great job. They've even had some meetings over the summer about community college and higher education also expenses. So this is something that's going to have to get revived when we're all seeing each other on a more normal, regular basis. But I think the budget problem is overriding all sorts of other reform that needs to happen.
Well, and let's go there then at this point, because you're here and I'm here, and
Yes.
on a time when we shouldn't be. Normally in the fall we would have the veto session, but you've been coming back because there's no budget. What are your thoughts on why we're still here, why we still don't have a budget?
Well, I can tell you that at least in my district, you know, we don't have state prisons. We don't have a lot of state other facilities in my district, and we're pretty good. So we're not feeling the effects of not having a state budget completely right now. We've got pockets of people. Obviously, the disability community is feeling the pressure. Obviously, higher ed is feeling the pressure. But College of Dupage is pretty self-sufficient. They are padded with a whole lot of reserves, so they're going to weather the storm. And other than that, I've got only private colleges in my district. So my district's not feeling maybe the same sort of pressure that other districts are, which may be part of the problem that there's not a budget, because how many people have been impacted it? We're still spending. Every state employee is still getting a paycheck. We have most of our disabilities community is funded through court orders and consent decrees. Medicaid's still being funded. I mean, so what you see is a backpiling of bills to private contractors. They're the ones who are just waiting for a budget so that they can get paid, because they have been having to find lines of credits to keep their continuing operations. So we got to get a budget, and there's got to be something that comes to a head, and I think that's going to be either the Chicago debacle that's happening, where they may have to lay off teachers. And oh, by the way, that's not something the state created. That is their own problem. I'm not in favor of bailing out Chicago with state dollars. They need to solve that on their own, but that may be the impetus for a solution.
The city of Chicago, as I understand it, might need or looking to get somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 million from the state. I think the governor's, as I understand it, is counting somewhat on them becoming desperate to maybe pressure the Democratic leaders to give in. It's basically a standoff at this point. The governor has said that he would go for new revenue, meaning I think tax increases, after he got some reforms. What are your thoughts on, if the governor comes and says, okay, we got whatever deal he puts together, now we're going to have some more revenue or more taxes? Is that a problem as far as you're concerned?
That's a huge problem for me. That's a problem for my district. Any new money that comes in is going to be just like the money in 2011 that came in, the over $31 billion that was taken in 4 years. 90% of it went to pension payments. And what Chicago's asking for, in nearly $600 million, that's all also going to plug a pension hole. So any new revenue is going to go to pensions. So I'm no until you show me some ability that we're going to move out of the current pension system we have and move to a hybrid system where you get maybe a partial defined contribution, defined benefit, or at least say new hires, you're in the more generous SURS program where you've got a 15% 401k option. It's so generous that you don't even need to have Social Security paid on top of that. If we don't move into a system like that, I'm not in favor of new revenue, because it is the pension payment that we are making that is creating all the budget crisis throughout the state. We spend 25% of our general revenues on pensions. The average state spends 8%. If we spent the way that other states do percentage-wise, we would not even be having this discussion. All new revenue, again, is going to go to pensions until we solve the pension piece, or at least show that we're going to move into a defined contribution program like every other state taxpayer has. I'm not in favor of new revenue.
Is there a way to do that given the
Yes,
Constitution?
there is. Yes, there is. You can move new employees into any system that you design. You can also incentivize current employees in either Tier 1 or Tier 2. You can incentivize them to move out of that in two ways. Representative Mark Batnick has a plan that basically buys them out. I already put through, in February, I filed a bill. It was a Tier 3 pension bill, and it incentivizes Tier 1 and Tier 2 to lock in their defined benefits where they are and move the rest of it into a 401k going forward. They would have the best of both worlds. So that plan got no hearing at all. And I think it's a viable plan, and it would at least show the rest of the state that, look, Illinois is on the way to reform in this area because, again, any new dollars are going to go straight to a pension payment, and I refuse to do that.
All right. Well, Representative Jeanne Ives, we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.